Howdy, my dudes. Got another endgame build here by a wonderful Anon X, who has been a very prevalent member in the Discord and has been a very consistent member of the community. And we have his endgame of endgameiest of builds here to share. This is less of a how to fix, but also a alternative to kind of what I roll because he went with more utility and just kind of user friendliness by using things like blink. And instead of using the dual charge tech, he runs around with resonance so that it is a more streamlined approach, but it's a little less powerful. But with that said, he has even better gear. So, like, he's got a great controlled metamorphosis with a resonance from nothing, really good megalomaniac, really powerful against the darkness with strength and int, and some of the best jewels that you will really ever see, all corrupted beautifully. He has lightning res and attributes, and in this case, a fifth mod, so that he's got crit chance, crit damage, elemental damage, and 10% energy shield to stun threshold. His jewels are perfect. They are not worth changing. He's got stats on his controlled metamorphosis. These are fantastic. He's even running the melting maelstrom. And one thing that isn't quite shown on here, didn't quite export properly, is that he's got a weapon swap. So he's got the crazy high damage Pillar of the Cage God with 12% weapon damage and crit. And then he's got another one that is attack speed, with attack speed slots on there as well for going around the maps really fast. So it's a simple weapon swap change, and that is where everything comes in. You see that he has 99.54% crit chance. That is because he has Orb of Winter, which is not shown on here, but you see Blink. So what he has is a weapon swap for Blink, so it's on whenever he wants a weapon swap, moving around faster, and he turns off some other things. I'm not too sure what he swaps out, probably Blink or Grim Feast for one of the auto casting skills for Orb of Winter. One thing that if you are having to swap it out manually, you could remove Herald of Ice and just put Innervate onto your Tempest Flurry instead of Practice Combo, because with how fast your attack speed is, you really don't need Practice Combo. Before I get on to the skills, though, I'll just show off the gear. There is nothing to complain about on any of these. These are all incredible pieces of gear that would make anybody happy to have. You'll notice that he has Deep Trance anointed onto his amulet, and that is because he has at this slot here Against the Darkness with 4% increased strength and int, and so with the From Nothing Resonance, he's able to get Spaghettification, Event Horizon, True Strike for the Jugular, and Seeing Stars, and then he anoints Deep Trance, so that is 6 nodes for 24% increased strength and 24% increased intelligence. Incredibly strong, powerful, and good. With that said, though, like I said on Tempest Flurry, I think Practice Combo would be better if you were to swap out, say, Innervate with Herald of Ice, so that way you could keep on your, if you have Elemental Invocation to use with your Rising Tempest, great. If you don't, and you use like Cast on Crit, then with how much I like Charge Staff, I think on your Tempest spell you wouldn't really need Rising Tempest. I know you're using Immolate, it just didn't show up on here for whatever reason. I think the best way to swap out for Tempest spell, if you are not using Elemental Invocation, would be to put Primal Armaments onto Tempest spell. Or, I mean, there could be some other ones if you didn't want to use it, but I think Primal Armaments would be pretty great. I don't think Super Critical would be great, because even with your capped out crit chance on Super Critical, it'd bring it down to 80%. I mean, it's going to be a lot of damage, but you'd be at 80% crit chance instead of 100, and I don't know if that's 100% worth it. I haven't done the math, but that is an option for 100% increased crit damage, not more, because you're doing a division of 20% for your crit chance, but you're only adding, because you're at 626, it'd only be 726. It'd be like, I don't know, was that like 13% crit multi? It's a hit. It's definitely a hit, but as it stands, I love that you got your Charge Infusion with Combat Frenzy, so you're getting the crit chance going that way. Your Grim Feast, Meditate is wonderful. Your Wind Dancer looks fantastic. I wouldn't change anything on there. Unbreakable is great on it. Inevitable Critical, perfect maim, keeps the things that hits and gets pushed away. a little bit further away from you. I love it. One thing I definitely notice in the POB here is that your shock effectiveness is only at 24%, but you should actually be at 41 because you have Tainted Strike and something else in here, and you also have Overcharged. So I have brought this into POB. I have made the corrections in here, and obviously you had the POB with all these other descriptions in here as they need to be. I fixed a few things out, like I took off critical hits, ignored monster elemental resistances, because as you can see, it is now working in POB, so we don't need to put that in there. The charge and fusion, 20% more crit chance. That is all fantastic and good stuff to put in there, because for whatever reason, it's not being counted. You have your stats adjusted in there that you did yourself, so I'm not tweaking with that. This is just what you have in here. All I changed was increased your shock effect. I left critically weak in there because I know that is something that you definitely have in there. Since you're going to be, you'd probably deal non-crit before it builds up. So yeah, I'll have both of these noted. You're at about 51 million damage with everything set properly. You initially had cold skill used in there, but you wouldn't have a cold skill. But yeah, 51 million damage all the time, basically, with your skills. But if you put in Elemental Invocation instead of Cast on Crit, your damage would go all the way up to about 60 million damage. Pretty crazy good. Now, with that said, we can definitely make that a little bit better. So I have already gone through and I saw a few areas in here that I thought could be improved a bit. Some small things is like this node here being stuck in the radius of controlled metamorphosis, and that's a glitch where it doesn't give you these 5 stats. Also, you have Heroic Tragedy here, and it hits this one and this one, so that's 10 strength that you don't get. And I felt like we could definitely unlock this jewel socket, and then it would only take off 5. So right there, that's 10 more attributes. And I saw a bunch of little things that I could tweak around, but let's just go to where I have things tweaked out. So like another big thing is like Careful Assassin actually loses you damage because you are maxed out on crit chance. And so you only need one node to cap out on the crit chance. And this here isn't even a full cap out, because as you can see, this is about 900,000 damage is given you. But is there another 10% node I can take off? That's just 10%. Unfortunately, I can't just take off another 10% somewhere, so that's getting difficult to see, but no, I couldn't. I was hoping that maybe right here with the crit chance there would be something to take off, but anyways, fast forward to what we have here. With these few changes, we've already brought it from about 60 million to about 62 and gave you a whole bunch of extra stats. And when we come to how I have your build tweaked, with the 3 skills, just like how I have it set up, and not worrying about that damage there, we brought you up to about 69 million damage. So that is pretty significant already. 9 million damage almost increased. That's with Wind Dancer, and without you're at 50, so that's like almost 8 million damage right there. Pretty dang good. The other thing to note on, before you had 8,700 energy shield and now you're at 9,200, that's another 500 energy shield, which at this point is, I mean, at any point 500 energy shield is wonderful, but there you go, you're at over 9,000 energy shield. And so I want to show you what I did. Is obviously I took off Careful Assassin because unfortunately that critical hit chance wasn't doing anything for you when you were already overcapped with Eye of Winter, and you have more than enough Eye of Winters going off that you're instantly capped before the boss dies. And yeah, I moved your Heroic Tragedy to this side of the tree, and obviously I was able to get in 1 extra jewel slot. 1 extra jewel slot is massive. I know that you had not taken this set of nodes and you had enough dexterity that you were happy with your attack speed, so I left it that way. With the removing of these crit chance nodes, We needed one more to cap it out, so I brought it here with serrated edges to also give you 30% increased damage against rares. I have moved away from this 30%, 36% increase if you dealt a crit in the past 8 seconds on this 20% crit chance, because when I came around and did everything and putting in this one other jewel that you had yourself, it gave you enough crit chance to be capped and allowed for a lot of extra stats all over the place. So I want you to notice this. You're at 602 strength with the rest of your stats the way they are. Before you were at 539 with admittedly 10 more decks, but the same int. We got you about 600 or 60 more strength in here with no deficit in any way. Your attack speed's the same, and your damage is massively higher, your defenses are higher, and obviously you still got great resistances. I love your resistances. This is amazing. And when we come and check out how I tweaked the configurations in here, I just changed it so you're at -5 strength instead of 10 from the Verana. I have not included Exposed to the Storm. I thought that might have helped you out quite a bit, but it turns out with how high your crit chance is, you do not need it at all. I see right now that for whatever reason this here didn't adjust onto the screen properly. Oopsie. There we go. That right there is about perfect. Alrighty. I have not changed any damage calculations. This is exactly how you had it. There is nothing different in here whatsoever. You've even left the same stat adjuster for whatever you have for real life. The other thing I've changed in here, like I've left practice combo, but for Tempest Bell, all I did was turn on Immolate just like how it had on the other one. I think if you are going to keep Rising Tempest, definitely remove Herald of Ice and just run Elemental Invocation, or cast on crit, drop Rising Tempest, and put something else in there. Something like Primal Armament would be the easiest one, most likely. Super critical if you're happy with that, but you wouldn't have a 100% crit chance. So if you were running cast on crit, super critical would not be it. The rest of your mods, I didn't change anything. You had it set up beautifully all throughout, so I wouldn't change any of that. Like, honestly, this is, I mean, we've gone back and forth on this in the past. Like, honestly, this is a very beautiful build. I love how you have everything set together. I've done minimal changes, but it compounded to a lot of damage and survivability just because of how good your gear is. And now I know you've already taken a step away for the season, but like, I hope this can help you going forward next season, your next character. Like, this is a very beautiful character, and I love your gear, and I love how it's set up. I'm just trying to help squeeze out every little bit that we can out of it. Like, I know you really like Wildstorm, so I figured we'll get more use out of this Controlled Metamorphosis with serrated edges. If you ever had mana issues, you can get Mental Toughness. If they reduce how effective Orb of Winter is, Exposed to the Storm is very powerful with your setup for 30% increased critical hit chance. It's better than Critical Exploit. Plus, we have the means to come down for Critical Exploit. I wanted the option to potentially come down for Melding, so if you are willing to take a bit of hit to damage, but I know you don't like taking hits to damage, it feels too good, I did make a tweaked 2 option, which is a little bit less damage, but also 500% more energy shield by giving you the Melding setup here. And all I removed from that, I got rid of the pathing for the extra jewel socket, so you did not have that option anymore, unfortunately. And I don't believe it's 100% crit chance, but it's like 99 point... Oh, it is 100% crit chance as well. Never mind. But that's because it stays here through this crit chance node, and it uses that extra point, and then it uses those 2 points here. That is where those 3 points went. Either way, your gear is flawless. You found the best stuff that you absolutely could. Like, there's very little on the market that would be an improvement to this, and you put this together beautifully. I am very impressed with how this is set up, and yeah, you did a great job. You definitely know how skills work together, you know how stats work together, and you know how to build your character. You know the strengths and weaknesses and how to really pump into it. Really, the main improvements I gave to you was like avoiding bugs by, instead of coming this way, you came this way to attach to it, so that way you didn't lose 5 attributes there, and I, on the other set, moved this heroic tragedy so that instead of missing out on, again, bug issue, losing out on 10 strength, I put it here and only had 5 loss. Like, there's not much to improve when you have such a wonderful build, but I am happy to say that I was able to get almost 9 million more damage and 500 more energy shield into this character build, and I hope that this can help you going forward. Again, thank you again, Anon X, for putting in such a wonderfully built character. I've had a blast going through this. I've been wanting to check it out for a while. I'm saddened that we couldn't get a couple of videos of you in action, but hey, we'll get that going forward potentially if in a future season we can see what other beautiful characters you put together. Again, thank you again for posting this, and to everybody else, I hope you liked the video. If you did, like and sub. If you didn't, don't. Either way, thank you for coming by. See you, dudes.